The movie begins with a boy called Orion who practices on ways to start a conversation with a girl he likes in his school called Sally. He changes his mind on walking up to her because he is afraid. He's afraid of getting rejected and humiliated, that his friends might see this and all laugh at him. It turns out Orion isn't just afraid of Sally nor talking to girls in general, but he has many other fears. The school counselor told him to document his fears in some form. That's why he has his own sketchbook, where he puts down the things he's afraid of. Firstly is his fear of flushing the toilet, believing the water might come out of it and flood the entire school. He's also afraid of giving wrong answers in class. There is a trick he always does in this situation. The teacher normally calls on kids who don't raise their hands, but raising his hand so she won't call in is a dangerous strategy, so therefore, he always hides himself behind the students to avoid being spotted. Orion is a very intelligent student. He knows the answer to most questions, but he is afraid he might get it wrong and everyone would laugh. There are more to his fears, like cell phone waves giving him cancer, clowns, mosquito bites, falling off a skyscraper, good morning to people. He's afraid of being responsible for his team losing. He's also scared of locker rooms, and why? Because of bullies. Richie is a top bully in his school. Orion has always wanted to stand up to the guy for once, but he is afraid of one punch sending him to the hospital. His class is going for an excursion to the planetarium on Monday. The students are excited, but Orion is terrified. Getting packed like sardines into a rusty school bus with 30 other kids speeding down the highway, it sounds like an accident waiting to happen. Something Orion never imagined suddenly happened. His crush Sally wants him to sit with her on their way to the field trip, but he didn't say a word because he is of course scared. The problem with Orion is he is constantly obsessed with the negative side of everything. According to page 17 on his sketchbook, he's afraid his parents might one day move away when he is still in school. His really nice parents finds out that Orion is scared on going on an excursion with other kids. They advise he should go even though he is scared, but the trick is not to let those fears get in the way of living his life. If not, it wouldn't have gotten married. Later that night, Orion watches a cartoon which he mocks to be unrealistic because recyclable items are not supposed to have eyes or personality. He thinks about what happens when a person dies. It terrifies him that there is no way to escape death, and after death, where do we go? Is it just darkness forever? Anyway, that brings us to what Orion fears the most, which is darkness. This fear has kept his parents sleepless for nights because of Orion's loud screams from his room. He is just lucky to have a really nice and understandable parents. According to his wishes, they left his room open so the light from outside can reflect to his room. But it's a worse night as a lightning bolt damages all the lights, increasing his crazy fear for darkness. Orion stands on his bed and causes the day darkness was made, but this leads to his worst nightmare come to pass. An entity shows up in front of him to relay his frustration of his constant screaming every night. It introduces himself as Dark, who states out that among all the kids who are scared of him, Orion is by far the loudest and obnoxious. He never asked to be a supernatural entity who evokes dread and despair, but he's just a regular guy trying to do his job. Dark is sad that almost everyone is scared of him, hates him, or think he is evil, which hurts him so much. Orion understands what it feels like as bullies always picks on him too. He wishes he should never be afraid anymore, which gives Dark an idea to help him eliminate Orion's fears. Dark suggests Orion should follow him to do his job for one night so he finally sees that there is nothing he should be afraid of. He will learn to appreciate the beauty of the night instead of being terrified all the time. Orion refuses to go, but looking back at how he has been spending his whole life paralyzed by fear, he decides to put an end to it. Dark takes him to the cloud and the movie pauses for a moment. We find out that all these is just a story, and it's just adult Orion telling his little daughter on how he was able to conquer his fears. Back to the story, Dark shows Orion the beauty of the city at night, but just after a prevented accident of Orion falling from the sky, Orion requests that he should be taken back home. Dark lets him know that he is stuck with him for 24 hours. Dark explains how his job is the most important because without darkness, the other night entities don't get to do their bits. Of course, there are other night entities like Dark, and he takes Orion to go see them. Dark introduces Orion to the other night entities who are sleep, quiet, insomnia, unexplained noises, and the most creative of them all, sweet dreams. Of course, they are not happy to see Orion, who they describe as the night screamer. They remind of the number of things that could go wrong. Dark can get obliterated and the concept of dark might cease to exist, making the fabric of the universe permanently and irreparably altered. Dark convinces the other entities to let him have 24 hours with a kid to stop his fears and night screamings, which normally interferes with their jobs. Concerning their job, Dark shows Orion the jobs of the entities one by one. Sleep is responsible for making sure all the creatures of the world goes to sleep at night, although her way of doing that is quite scary. Dark shows him insomnia, whose work is to whisper worrisome things to people's ears to keep them awake. Next is Quiet, who of course their jobs cannot be done if not for her. She's responsible of making sure the night is so quiet. Next is called Unexplained Noises, which I feel is the most useless because his job is just to create creepy sounds to scare children at nights. And finally, the best entity among them all is Sweet Dreams. Dark takes Orion inside the head of one random person to show him how she works. Sweet Dreams normally scans all the wishes of the people and make them into a dream. But Orion ruins this moment with his negative thoughts. Sweet Dreams warns Dark never to bring him around her again. Orion is depressed because despite Dark efforts he still hasn't overcome any of his fears. But there is something he just began to realize. He is not afraid of Dark anymore, which makes him so excited. Orion and Dark begin spending wonderful times together, and that's not all. Orion also assists the other night entities in doing their jobs, but the happy mood of Dark changes to sadness when he's watching a kid crying in his mother's arm, all because he is afraid of the dark. Orion tries to make Dark feel better. He thanks him for showing him that there is more to night than just the darkness. He finds out that Dark also has a thing he is afraid of. He is scared that everyone might be right about him, that he is not a good guy, but just as scary as everyone says. Break is over and all the entities prepare to get back to work, but Light, Dark's enemy, shows up. Orion seems to like Light because he makes him feel safe. Light mocks Dark for his insecurities and boasts about how he brings brightness and hope to the world, while Dark brings the exact opposite. After another exploring, it turns out that Orion fears for the dark is still there, as he refuses to join them inside a dark room. Just when Dark went to take a break, Orion whispers to the other night entities about the amazing things about daytime, like the noises, birds, children playing. Daytime has many beautiful colors, and Orion even goes as far to show them an example of light using a burning fire, and the night entities begin to love it. Just as Dark finishes his break, he overhears their conversation from behind as they call him the problem. Dark is a very nice guy, but Orion just feels as long as they are with Dark, they never enjoy all the amazing things Light has to offer. Dark, hearing all these, is heartbroken. Orion apologizes as he didn't mean to hurt Dark, and gathers the night entities for a meeting to unsay every pessimistic things about Dark. But this makes the night entities wanting to experience daytime the more, as they want to see how green the grass is, the different colors in the planet. The night entities blame Dark for being the reason for everyone's hatred towards them, and keeping them away from the true beauty of life. They argue that they all need to feel seen and heard. In fact, they all quit their jobs as night entities to get a daytime job, leaving Dark all alone. Dark is really depressed that no one likes him, and he will now be all alone forever. He decides to put an end to his misery. Dark goes to sit on the mountain and waits for daytime to come. Orion knows if Dark's still there when Light comes, he is going to die. Light starts approaching and seeing Dark from afar, warns him to move away. Orion begs Dark to leave, but he refuses. Sadly, Dark dies as soon as Light reaches him. Orion is so upset because all of these is his fault. A girl of his age who introduces herself as Hypatia says she can help him. Without night, people won't be able to get to sleep, and without sleep, everyone is going to go crazy. She reveals to have an idea in getting all the night entities back to prevent the impending catastrophe. The solution is from the poem she wrote. The poem talks about how night is now gone, and people are beginning to miss it. Light, which is the only thing left, has made the world imbalanced. The world has become too loud, too selfish, and everyone fighting one another due to the stress from the sun. People are tired as they don't sleep anymore. To cut the long thing short, Hypatia poem brings the night entities together again. They think of ways to bring Dark back to the world. She assures that Dark is not dead but very much alive. It is in Orion memory, but the only one who can access his memories is the entity of Dream. All the night entities does their jobs to make Orion fall asleep. He sees Dark in his dreams, who is so excited that Orion came back for him. But the happy union is cut short when a black hole appears out of nowhere and begins to suck Dark into the space. According to Dream advice, Dark goes in with a rope to pull him out. But it doesn't seem to be the best solution, as the rope is not strong enough to pull them both out. To avoid Orion from dying, the best thing they can do is to wake him up. The entities try different methods to wake him up, but it's to no avail. Even insomnia can't do anything about it. Something that surprises us eventually happens. Quiet shows up and whispers to Orion's ear concerning the field trip he is going to miss if he doesn't wake up. Immediately Orion wakes up, and best of all, as night is finally back to the world, we see the stars, experience the quietness, and best of all, the beauty. Everyone is happy to see the Dark return, including the light entity. The night entities appreciate dark for everything, which leads us to a saying which says, "You will never know what you have until you lose it." Orion thanks Dark for helping him conquer most fears, but Dark instead thanks him for seeing him the way he does. Although he is still terrified on going for his upcoming field trip, he's still going anyway, as the way to conquer your fears is to face them. To Orion's surprise, Hypatia is his biological daughter from the future who came to help him. But a new problem arises as Hypatia doesn't know a way to get back home to the future. While Orion thinks of ways to help her out, a green bright light gets their attention. A guy called Tycho shows up from his window, saying he can help her using his time machine. But him coming back to rescue her has released some interdimensional time monsters, so they have to stop them before they multiply and destroy history. Hypatia and Tycho takes out the monsters and finally made their way into the time machine. He takes her back to the future from 20 years later, where adult Orion welcomed his daughter Hypatia. Funny enough, Tycho is Hypatia's son from the future. In this future, Orion is now old, and it turns out that he had already gotten married to his crush Sally. It turns out Orion has conquered his fears. Let us know in the comment section the lessons you learned from this video and tell us what your fears are. Thank you for watching, guys. If you love animation movies, please subscribe to this channel and keep watching. Bye.